I'm Lou Scott, and this is the Geppetto Room, where you don't have to be creative to be creative, you just have to be you. Because here we're going to explain and explore techniques, methods, to help you make transformative decisions, the kind of decisions we have to make in Vermont. Have to make transformative decisions to enrich the way you live, the way you work, and the way you play in our state. Now, recently I wrote a commentary for the Herald, which they published. It was about what we're going to do about Center Street. Center Street, where they've been talking, they've seen projects, they've seen presentations, they've discussed it, but nothing is being done. It's just staying static. We have to add vibrance to Vermont. We have to add vibrance to Rutland, downtown Rutland. The way we do that, let's start Center Street and then we can spread out. We must add energy to it. Now what's happening is that they're discussing things, the aldermen and the other people, the other stakeholders, but nothing's being done. What they're doing, in a great word, they're ruminating. Ruminating means they keep going over the same thing. Nothing gets done. They keep talking. And nothing seems to get, there's no decision, there's no dreams, there's no vision of what it should be downtown. And we need it. And I wanted to help, so I wrote the article, and now I'm going to share with you things that would be helpful to make decisions, that you can make decisions and maybe to reach them. Look, some people can't make decisions. Some people have what we call paralysis of will. Paralysis of will. Now, I've come in touch with that many times after 50 years in the agency business. We had to continually convince clients to make decisions, because if they didn't make decisions, we didn't have any work. So we had to make decisions, and we come up with some techniques. Now, psychologists tell us that the reason we don't make decisions, everybody, is that we are afraid to make a mistake, okay, and we are afraid we are very anxious about what other people think of our decisions. So we don't make decisions. We have paralysis. Now, we have to make decisions, and I've met so many people. Let me tell you a story. I was making a presentation to a client, and the client we saw was advertising ads, print ads. And the client looked at it and said, "This is terrific. I love what you guys do. This is terrific, but we can't do it." We all sat there, my creative team. I said, "Well, why not?" He says, "Well, it'll create too much awareness. It'll get too much attention." Now, we all fell off our chairs. I said, isn't that the purpose of advertising? To create attention, to create awareness of your product, to move a client, or move a prospect from awareness to purchase? He said, "Yes, but this is going to create too much awareness." So we went back with that thought in mind, which we thought was crazy. And we started to do other things, and we went other things. Everything we presented he liked, but he never did. We finally realized that this is an individual that will never make a decision, never. He has a small little job. He was afraid that people would pay attention to him, not the ad, and maybe say, "Well, what is he doing here?" Jeopardizing him. He was so afraid that people in the company would pay attention to him. He never made a decision. And there are people like that, never can. But for the most part, we all can under the right circumstances. Now, we had to get clients to make decisions because we were a small agency, and we worked on a project basis. If we didn't get them to make decisions, okay, the project never got paid, and we didn't get paid. So we had to come up with ways to make it comfortable for people to make decisions. Now, I'm going to go over some of these ways, some of the things that I wrote in the commentary, and maybe you could use them for your own personal decisions, for your own, if you're on boards, if you're on open houses, anything where you have to make a decision for yourself and for the state of Vermont. Vermont needs transformative decisions. Here are some techniques you might be able to use that I found from my experience are helpful to foster decisions. Now, we did these decisions in order as important as it showed up. As it got more difficult to get a client to make decisions, we applied these techniques. However, in your case, whatever technique, whatever success action you want to do, you can do it. Just use it. Use the technique. If you find it good, I'm going to try to explain, if I have to, if it's not self-evident, as I go through it. There's about 8 or 9 of them. And hopefully, these will help you make, again, transformative decisions, okay? Let's go through them. Here's the first one. We often saw that we had a account executive dealing with a client, and he was having problems. She was having problems. He was having problems with the client. We thought, well, maybe it's the chemistry. Maybe it's the personality. Maybe it's they just can't seem, they don't like each other. Whatever the case might be. We sensed that. So what we did initially is change the account executive. In your particular case, here personally, if you're making presentations and nobody's listening, you're not getting decisions, well, maybe you got to get somebody else that has a better rapport with the audience that you want to make decisions. Try it. We did it. It worked sometimes now. When we sensed that the client wasn't making a decision because he feared what his boss was thinking, what other people were thinking, what other product managers were thinking. What we did, and we did it very tactfully, we didn't go over his head and tell the boss that we can't get a decision. What we did is we went to his boss and we said, look, here's some ideas. And we were looking for whether his executive boss was interested in these ideas. And when we found an idea that he was interested in, we kind of told the client. And the boss, we kind of recommended to the client, don't usurp him, don't override his decision, but kind of express your likeness for the idea. That works sometimes. You have to be tactful about that. That worked. Sometimes, he declined, the boss would say, oh, that's a good idea. And the client all of a sudden would jump on and start making decisions about a particular thing initially he was worried about making, because he didn't worry about the mistake. He didn't worry about what his boss thought, because his boss liked the idea. His boss liked the idea, he liked the idea. People are like that. Okay. Many times we were presenting a complete, very complicated campaign. Print, online, offline, conventions, everything. It was too much to digest. The client felt vulnerable. He couldn't make a decision. He couldn't grasp the ideas, okay? So we said to him, look, let's break this campaign. We're going to do it simultaneously, but let's break it down into pieces. Let's do this segment, let's see what it does, and then we'll do this segment, and so forth. And let's get approvals. Once we had all the approvals, we did run the advertising simultaneously, because advertising has to run simultaneously. One thing has to reinforce the other. Well, when we did that, it was easier for him to understand. It was easier. He felt less vulnerable. He felt that it wasn't in a crisis. He could show the pieces. He made the decisions. He felt really, let me say it again, less vulnerable. He felt more confident, more comfortable with the decision, and it worked. When we couldn't get decisions, at all, we recommended research. Now, the research idea usually came up when the client came back to us with his own research, which advertising people call mother-in-law research. This was his opinion of his partner, of her partner, of his wife, of his son. He would come back and say, my wife didn't like the idea. Okay. We just sit back there. We were very tactful most of the time. And I'd say, well, does your wife work for the company? And he'd say, no. Is your wife interested in marketing? No. Does your wife buy the product? No. Is your wife a medical professional? Because we were doing medical advertising. She said no. And then I would tactfully say, well, why do we care what your wife thinks? She's not our audience. She's not the audience. Don't tell us. So let's want to do research. Let's do research that's meaningful. So if we had money, we do quantified research. If we didn't have money, we had little money, we did qualified research. We gave him a sense of confidence. The research, other than his mother-in-law research, gave him a sense of confidence, and that got him to make decisions, and we were happy, he was happy. The next thing that we did, fifth thing, is that what agencies call, we sold it by the pound. Many times, presenting an idea, visuals help, not just talking about it. When you talk about it many times, you remunerate everything. You go over and over again. When you show a picture, it's true, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And also, many pictures, not too many, because you don't want to confuse them, he would show to other people. And they would say, I like that picture. And many times, based on that visual for the idea, we were able to get decisions. He wasn't paying attention to the words or the content or the strategy. He had confidence in the visual. And based on that confidence, we were able to get strategic decisions and creative decisions made. And it worked. So if you're presenting something, you're making presentations, you're talking about ideas, use visuals. They're good. When it got real stuck, when we got stuck and nothing was going on and we couldn't get the decision made, we would change the team. We go in and say, look, maybe we need a new team. So we bring in a whole new team. And what we were doing here is taking the time. Many times, it takes courage to make decisions, and courage takes time. So we gave them time. We gave her time. We brought in a whole new team. When a new team came in, we were able to restructure the ideas. We were ready to give new input. We talked to them all over again. It gave him time to rethink some of the things that we had already said, and he came to some conclusions with the new team, and it worked for us. It was costly, but the idea of bringing new people in to make the decision worked. The radical part happened. The next thing happened is we were just getting nowhere. We were ruminating what we were doing. We were going over and over the idea, over and over, talking about the same things. We weren't getting anywhere. We were just aggravating each other. So what we did is said, let's go back to the blank page. Let's forget about what we said. Forget about it. And start all over again. And that's what we did. And many times, starting all over again, maybe the idea was better. I don't know whether the idea was better than the first one. However, we did know that many times we get decisions. We get decisions made. That's what we need. Action. We need action. Ideas without action are meaningless. Now, we would seek the innovative. We were innovative people. And when we got what we did, actually, this was something we prepared ourselves for future decisions. When we got a decision made and it was working well, we heralded it. We rewarded it. We entered into a contest. For readership advertising contest. If we won, we give him a plaque and we let it hang up in his office, in her office. We go out to dinner, we celebrate, we herald the idea. We made it, so you did a right decision. We're telling the guy, you did a good decision. We're trying to set up a situation where he had confidence for the next decision. And that worked very well for us. So herald your ideas. When you have decisions, celebrate them. Celebrate the results. Do everything like it's never been done before. Do innovative things. It's uncomfortable, I know. Sometimes it's very, very uncomfortable, but those are the kind of decisions you need for personal, and Vermont certainly needs these decisions. We need those decisions specifically to attract young people, because that's our biggest problem. We're not attracting young people to our economy. So make transformative decisions. When you're making a decision, whatever it is, for a team, for your own personal life, ask yourself two questions. And you heard me say this before. Is it transformative? Is it beginning? Is it innovative? Or and will it appeal to the millennials? Does it reflect their needs, not our needs? The minute you start to generationally argue with this new generation, they turn you off. Forget about what you used to do. They're not interested. Concentrate on what they want to do, what they want to change when you make decisions. And the bottom line is, when you make a decision, go with your gut. Sometimes your gut, your feeling about something is more accurate, more effective, more efficient than rationale, than all the data in the world, all the research in the world. How you feel, what your body's telling you, sometimes is the best way to make a decision. Count on that. Sometimes you don't have to wait till the last minute too. Sometimes your gut feeling early on is a better decision. Now here's a little statement I'd like to have you remember about decision making. This is done by a man named Peck, H. Peck. I don't know who he was, but I liked what he's saying, and I'm going to paraphrase it for you. He said, the truth in our final moments are most likely occur when we are feeling deeply uncomfortable, unhappy, unfulfilled about the solution. When we feel uncomfortable, we feel jumpy, we're holding back because the idea is not comfortable. Okay, he says that those are the times that propel us to do good things, are likely to stop getting ourselves involved in a rut, stop going back to old ideas, stop going back to ordinary, stop going back to things that we're comfortable. It's those times when we feel the most uncomfortable is when we come up with the best ideas, the best truths, the best solutions, the transformative solutions. Remember that. When you feel uncomfortable, in the opposing way, if you feel comfortable about an idea and you like it, check it. Use your gut and say something's wrong with this idea, because most likely, if you're not uncomfortable about the idea, it's not new, it's not transformative, and those ideas are not the ones we need. Those ideas are not the ones that are going to enrich how we work, how we play, and how we live in our state. Remember that. Feel uncomfortable. Feel like you don't want to make the decision, but make it anyway. Now, let me end with this. A major decision that we have to make that overrides all the things we need to do, but our housing, our taxes, our way of living, what we have to correct in our state. The major problem, and I think it's a crisis, I think it's an emergency, is that we're not attracting new people, new young people to come and live here, to stay here. More people die here than come here. It's a terrible demographic situation that we're in. It'll raise our taxes. It'll eliminate businesses coming in here. It'll affect the way we traditionally live our lives. We need to attract new people. The way we have to do that is everything we decide, every project we do, every policy that we do as stakeholders must be transformative. They must reflect what the young generation needs, what the millennial needs, not reflect what we're comfortable with. It's a crisis. And the government, in my opinion, our government, state government, has to do everything we did, for example, when we had Irene. When that was an emergency, we took out all stops. All departments cross-fertilized, we had money, we talked to each other, we got away from politics, and we solved the problem. We solved the problem. It was an emergency, and we reflected on it, and we did it right. I don't want to confuse the issue with another metaphor, but the Irene metaphor is a good metaphor. We are in a crisis. We have to make decisions that will reflect young people, their dreams, their ideas. When we do that, the state will be more receptive to young people coming here. Right now, we're not affecting it. We're not getting new people. It is a dangerous demographic situation. With that, I'm Lou Scott, and this is the Geppetto Room, where you don't have to make decisions. You just have to be you. Thank you for watching. Until next time.